Let's go, next level and row.
Next level and row.
And we're back here today with another shit show.
Not shit show. Well, maybe we'll see how it goes.
This is the shit show. If you are watching us, like I mean watching, not listening. If you're watching us, you see how washed out next level is.
Yeah, I'm still having some issues. I know.
One day, just not today. One day. But hope everybody is having a good one. You know, with all this whole, I don't even know what we want to call it. I stopped drinking Corona because I don't want to catch it, so I switched over to Bud Light.
Seriously, Raw. Seriously,
Bud Light Lime.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I'm pretty sure that is not how it works.
Listen, you're in Canada. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yo, Corona is expensive up here.
See? So, what I said, I'm drinking the Bud. You like the Bud too. What are you talking about? You got the Bud drink.
Yeah, well, I don't drink. It's a different kind of Bud.
It's the tea Bud. But yeah, I know with all this whole crap that's happening, there's so much in the news, and I think we've talked about this in the past about IP Vanish. I don't know if there's several other VPNs out there that they're pretty much getting away from China's servers, and they've been just saying, hey, you know what, we're done with like Hong Kong servers, and there is just a big mess happening over with China. And what's interesting now is India's starting to follow suit, kind of. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's so. Okay, so what I'm trying to get to is India's been banning a couple things. File linked is one of them. Learned that from you. And TikTok has been another one that has been pretty much going through like a lot of the social media trend right now. But the United States, like I was reading this thing here with the Army, the U.S. Army has banned soldiers from using TikTok because of security concerns over the Chinese owned app. And we know China, like, I don't want to get too political or too conspiracy here. With what's going on with the whole COVID and Lord knows what else. But anytime you hear the word, like, it's funny, like the Chinese have such a bad and good rep.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. It's bad and it's good.
It's weird. It's like they're like, oh, it's made in China. You think cheap, like, oh, this is a cheapo. But that was true back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s. Not so much since the 2000s hit. Now, when you see something made in China, it's funny. Now people are like, really? This was made in China? It's actually quality. It's like, well, it's because a lot of the prices have been going up, so they're trying to make their bread. But I don't know. It's. I have a feeling, and I know we talked about this before. We had an app before, Musical.ly, Vine, and now TikTok. You think this is going to be something else? What do you think it's going to be called?
Well, I mean, it's the same application, right? So Musical.ly turned into TikTok. But I think we're living in a very interesting time right now, because when India banned TikTok, the first initial thing that happened in the software market was, I think it was like 50 million people signed up to a similar application that was created in India, right? Do you imagine if a country that had 1 billion people in it, like China or like India, decided to drop something that was a big social media impact, like Facebook or TikTok or Twitter, and they said no, everyone in this country can only use our version of that app, it would still be sustainable because of the amount of traffic that they would get. So I don't know. It's very interesting. It's something that I haven't really noticed before. That an application goes down and a new one comes from the country that bans it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that's interesting, and that's a topic all on its own.
Well, when I was so us being the tech savvy clowns as we are, um, I went to Beijing. I was in China. I went to Hong Kong when they started the whole marches, and when the UK pretty much gave Hong Kong its own freedom back, but China tried to take them over. I was there when they had the marches, and then I went to Japan. And let me tell you, when I was in Hong Kong, and I again, I've always have an American phone, Samsung. Well, I guess it's not an American; it's more Korean, but um, Samsung from the United States. I bought my phone in the United States, and I know what it does. I went to Beijing and I hooked up to their Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden I got advertisements on my cell phone.
Huh.
I would open it up and I would go take a picture, and a pop-up would come up in Mandarin
Yeah.
or whatever, and I was like, Cantonese is the other one. I was trying to think of it, Mandarin or Cantonese, and I was like,
It's not
"What?"
tangerine.
I'm like, "What? What? What are you saying? I don't understand. Ni hao, like, come on, bro."
You're saying that to Bixby ni hao.
Yeah. I'm like, "What in the world?" I'm like, "Why are they putting advertisements on my phone?" I'm like, "I'm connected to their infrastructure."
Mhm.
What was interesting is I had no access to Instagram, Facebook, anything Google related, my email, my Yahoo. I had nothing. I was cut off pretty much from everybody once I was in Beijing. And oh man, this isn't a VPN pitch by any means necessary. So I'm not going to name VPNs. I'm not going to say nothing, but I did log into a VPN and I was able to take a picture and post it to my Facebook or Instagram or
Mhm.
or email it to myself or use apps where I could, like Telegram, Hangouts. Well, back then
How
it was
long ago was
Hangouts.
this?
This was in 2013, 2014
That's
maybe.
still a long time ago, man.
Well, we're
Yeah,
only talking about what,
before
6
the
years?
whole Xiaomi conspiracies and like all that stuff.
Huh?
That's before all the whole like Xiaomi conspiracies, or is it
Right?
Xiaomi? Yeah, Xiaomi, right?
Xiaomi, yeah.
Yeah.
China's been blocking things for a long time. They have their own version of Facebook. And after I logged off my VPN and I had my phone back on to normal, um, I started to realize I'm like, it's this is interesting. Here's an interesting story. When I was in Beijing, I went to the hostel. I know people always think about the movie Hostel, but it's not true. Um, I was in a hostel. I had my own room, and they had their own restaurant, their own bar. Check this out. I walked up to the bar and I ordered my food. I sat down, and they had this jar, this giant jar, and it was their version of moonshine. They had scorpion inside of it. They had a huge tarantula in there. They had a giant snake that was wrapped around. They had wood bark. Um, yeah, I said that, wood bark. They had pieces of wood in there. They had like some weird looking leaves. I don't know if they're not lily pads, but some weird giant leaves in there. It was just a hot mess. It was a bunch of stuff in there. And I was talking to the bartender, and I said, "Hey, why don't you guys have Facebook? He's like, we don't need Facebook. We have whatever they have that's equivalent to Facebook. I was like, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how come you guys don't use Facebook? He's like, well, there's a lot of people outside of Beijing that like to throw out propaganda on how bad China is. And I'm just like, well, I'm like, I know you guys are ran by like communism and this and that. We had this huge, deep conversation. And he's just like, how long have you been here? I'm like, a couple days. He's like, how many? And it's funny how he said this. He said it, of course, in English. His English is different than mine English, but he's like, how many assholes have you met in China? And I'm like, zero actually. I met a few people that looked at me funny, like they didn't know if I was an alien.
Yeah.
People stopped me. I'm not even kidding you. They stopped me and asked me what was my nationality. Where was I? They're like, where are you from?
Yeah.
And they couldn't comprehend that I was an American. They're like, you don't, they're like, no, they're like, you're Australian, you're Indian, you're everything but American. And then they started asking me, where is your parents from? El Salvador, Costa Rica. And they're like, where is that? I'm like,
Yeah.
Central America. I had to pull
Yeah.
the map and show it to them. And they're just like mind boggled. And they're saying how there's so much propaganda outside of China. They're like, we're happy people. We live in peace. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Our ruler, our emperor, our king, like he does what he needs to do. He takes care of us. We do our stuff. He's just like, if you look at the richest people in the world, most of them live in China.
Mm-hmm.
Millionaires live in China. And he's like, it's because of our infrastructure, how we have our technology, how we invest within ourselves, how we could say made in China. Yes, it might have been a cheaper product before because we were just trying to get businesses, but we have product stuff now that has quality. So amongst this whole conversation, I was looking at this big, huge jar thing. my version of being long-winded now. And he has a little spigot at the bottom. Everything, of course, is dead in there. It's not like they're floating around, you know.
Well, I don't know if a dead scorpion or a live scorpion entices me more. They're both. I'm good. Thanks.
Right? It's now, and I'm not kidding. This scorpion, like I've seen scorpions, little scorpions that you could hold with your hand.
Yeah.
This thing was much bigger than my hand.
Mm-hmm.
It looked fake. It looked disgusting. You know?
Yeah.
It just looked unreal. And
Right.
I asked them, what is this? Oh yeah, this scorpion is from whatever mountains and desert of over the Great Wall of China. And like he was like telling me all the stories of where they get this stuff.
His name was Freddy.
Yeah. And my name is Freddy. Hi. And dude, he poured me a shot and he said, blessings and good fortune. And he gave me the shot and he said, don't worry about it. It's on the house. I took the shot and it was the most insane feeling I've ever felt. You know, typically when you take a shot of something, you feel the burn.
Mm-hmm.
Feel the burn, right? This was, I felt something, but it wasn't a burn. I felt like I almost had like like before I took the shot, I felt like I might have been getting sick. You know how you travel, you sometimes get laggy.
Yeah.
Sick. It took all of that away. It was like it was gone. Like I felt good. I felt energized. I felt like I had a full night's rest. I felt great. I was like, dude, what the hell is in this thing? And then he goes over and he looks at, I think it was his wife, and he says something, pours another one, and he's just like, here you go. He's like, the second one is where you start feeling it.
You're like, I'm already feeling it.
I'm like, good. He cheers. Good fortune, good luck to your future travels, and hope you're safe and you make it home good. Took another shot. Dude, that second shot, I felt so relaxed, so good. And for the rest of that trip, like check this out. I had my luggage that was lost. When I got to Beijing, I had my backpack full of 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, 1 pair of shorts, and 2 t-shirts. That's it. That night, my luggage appeared at the hotel, at the hostel. I was like, no way. And then we flew out from Beijing to Hong Kong the next day, and they had all those riots and everything. It was peaceful the entire time. I was like, dude. And what's interesting was when I got to Hong Kong, when I turned on the Wi-Fi, they had their own little sets of ads, and I was able to use Facebook over there. And Instagram. Which was weird. I'm just like, isn't Hong Kong part of China? It's an island from off of China, but they're not China. It was just crazy. So when I look at this TikTok thing, how India is banning them, China's been banning them. China bans anything out there, you know. But China's slowly starting to take over Hong Kong, and that's why VPN service is now pulling servers out of Hong Kong, because how China likes to spy on people. But I don't think it's that they're doing it to try to attack people. I think it's more trying to protect themselves. You know? Especially if you see our technologies over here, like think about it. Who is our president?
Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye.
Or aren't it, you know, actually the day that we're recording this is actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's 73rd birthday.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess it would be interesting if we could get an Arnold versus Kanye for the next president.
Arnold. Well, he wasn't born here, so he can't win.
Come on.
But seriously, dude, if you have somebody in office, doesn't matter who it is, let's say it's Kanye, and they're threatening everybody left and right. If I was China, I'll be like, our country is good.
Mm-hmm. So
you want to cut off trade?
Term? Is there a different term for, you know how there's like martial law where the police dictate whatever is right? Is there another term when the government, well, I guess that's like official communism then, right? When the government's like, no, we decide what's good for you and what's not. That's communism, right?
That's communism.
That's communism. Yeah, okay, all right.
And see, with us, it's kind of like, it's funny. I say us, United States, us.
Yeah. That's an American attitude. I know.
America. Every state has it. Every state governs themselves, and because we don't have a king or an emperor, that person cannot tell us what to do or what not to do. They could put federal. It's weird. It's like, imagine like marijuana. And it's very weird. You look at marijuana, it could be legal in Colorado, and yet it's illegal in Vegas or Nevada. Vegas is the state of Nevada. I don't care what anybody says. I know Nevada is the state, but Vegas is the state. Without Vegas,
well, they fund it, right?
Vegas funds the whole damn thing. There's nothing in Nevada but Vegas and Reno.
That's like Toronto. Toronto funds pretty much all of Canada.
Yeah, exactly. So the great state of Las Vegas, let's just say they haven't legalized it, even though it could be. And this is what's really strange. If California says it's legal by the state, it could still be illegal federally. So it's like, wait a minute. If I smoke, it's legal if I'm in the United States, but if I get pulled over, is it illegal because it's federally? But what if everybody votes? Well, let's say every single state votes to be legal. Now what? Now it's got to be legal federally because everybody says it. You know what I mean? It's just so confusing. It's like, who do we listen to? The governor of California or the president? You know what I'm saying?
You listen to the Canadian who's crossing the border into the States.
It's confusing. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to move to Australia. Screw this crap. It's strange. But I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss, I guess, when it comes to if our president says no more TikTok. Imagine, dude, check this out.
Yeah.
India says no more file linked. What if the United States bans file linked?
You know what? Bottom line is, I believe. I mean, I wasn't this strong on it before, but I believe everyone needs a VPN now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the set has broken down.
My light just fell apart, and it's under the table now. Anyways, so I believe everyone needs a VPN. I believe everyone needs a VPN. It was funny because you were talking about, the whole pot thing just now, but the province I live in Ontario, our license plates say a good place to grow, and we legalized marijuana. So I thought that was pretty funny.
For real. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's I don't know what's gonna happen. I know it's funny because I have one of my cousins does TikTok, and he's a clown. He's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he thinks he's funny, but I think that's all of us. Sometimes I think I'm funny and I look like an idiot.
Yeah,
but it's very interesting to see people on TikTok because there's no advertisements, there's nothing like that. People just go there and just do stupid stuff.
You do stupid. You do you. You do stupid.
You do you, boo boo, be stupid. But it's like when you look at stuff like this, it's kind of like, okay, how are you getting paid? Well, they're sponsors, kind of like us with Buzz TV
links and deals and stuff like that, for sure.
Yeah, Buzz TV gives us stuff, gives us products, and we could say, hey, this is some good stuff that we could.
This some good shit.
Yeah, some good stuff. By the way, if you don't know, you know now.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how we can do certain things like this. One day it's here, one day it's not. I don't
know. Technology has always moved at a very, very fast speed.
Yep.
So we don't have time to mourn things that disappear. There's no mourning of technology. Like, you got to be pretty old to mourn technology these days. I mean, you got to be like Rojas old and be like, I miss my Betamax.
Dude, I miss my 80s, 90s music.
But you can still find that if you go on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. You miss the medium in which you used to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But because it advances and it changes so quickly, it still gives you the same content, but what you miss is the feel of it. It kind of leads me into my next question, which, my next topic that I want to talk to you about. And I wanted to ask you, I kind of wanted to discuss. So I don't know if you remember, about a month ago, I sent you a link and I was like, hey, can you see if you could talk to this company for me? And it was an M.2 hard drive, right? Mm-hmm. And we're getting to a point where companies are capable of creating crazy kind of tech. So the one that I sent you was an M.2 hard drive, and I think it was, what was it, an 8 terabyte? Or was it bigger?
I think it was
an 8 terabyte M.2. I think it was like 5 gigabyte speeds data read and write. Probably the biggest M.2 that I've seen. And the sale price was $1,600 US. So at what point do you start to say there's concept, there's innovation, and then there's retail? And at what point does the price have to come down to really become valuable to the end user or the average person or the average consumer? I guess what got me thinking about this was Linus. Linus actually just put out a video talking about 100 terabyte SSD. Do you know what the price of this 100 terabyte SSD is?
Probably a couple grand.
40
grand.
40 grand. Now, some people might look at that and be like, well, that's insane. And then other people would be like, I have a whole rack of hard drives, and it's got its own cooling system, and it's got this, and it takes up so much energy. And then that person who's like, they could downsize a whole rack in their room to a little tiny SSD, and it would save them energy and space and all that kind of stuff, right? Like there's so many pros and cons when you look at that stuff. But I don't know. I was kind of just wondering, at what point do you think, that 100 terabyte hard drive and needs to drop to what price for the average consumer to see actual value in it?
I think that's going to happen, and I think history repeats itself.
Yeah.
As things become easier to make and cheaper to make, because they found an easier way to make it to begin with, then they could start doing more mass production, which means prices will start going down. As prices start going down, the interesting part about it is they always figure out how to do something better. So we are talking about, like, if you're recording 8K, 16K, or I hope they just stop with the Ks. Like, just, I don't know, as they start advancing how things are being stored, it's like the never ending snowball where it's like, okay, cool. It's going to take, I don't know, it's going to take I don't know, like 2 terabytes of memory for this. I don't want to call it Blu-ray. Let's just call it Green Ray. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, whatever amount of storage is being written on a disk or a drive or whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
I think as it starts to advance, things start dropping in price. I remember when gigabytes was expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And I think as things started to advance and things were becoming easier to do, and production was cheaper to do, then prices started to drop. As prices were dropping, more information on video games started to be put out, more information on movies, TV shows, audio, visual, interactive, 3D, 4D. Like there's just so much information that's been written down. So as more stuff gets written down, it's just like, wait a minute, this is not going to take now, I don't know, 1 gigabyte for a movie. Now this is going to be 20 gigabytes. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold that thought. Now that we got more stuff, we're going to add more quality, more surround sound, more bang for your buck. Let's go 40 gigs of memory. Let's go 80 gigs of memory. Let's go 100 gigs of memory. So now when you have all this information there, like, you see some of these video games. Some of these video games could vary from 30 gigs of information up to 100 gigs. Easy.
Most of them are probably on just under 100 gigs now.
Yeah, they're
just
under.
updates.
And it's gonna get bigger and bigger. It's eventually what they're gonna do is we're gonna get to a point where it's gonna say like, hey, this is now a terabyte. It's 1 terabyte. And for the average user, they're like, 1 terabyte. That's like saying 100 megabytes. Come on. That's nothing. That's like 1 gigabyte. 1 gigabyte is nothing.
I don't know, man. These consoles are only coming with a terabyte of space.
And I think as time progresses, because the thing is with these new consoles that they're only talking about a terabyte worth of space, they're also talking about a cloud. Oh man, I got some good info. PlayStation, if you're done playing a level or if you're done playing a game of some sorts, it deletes 80% of whatever it was in there for the game to run, and it pretty much saves only your progress. Like if you have a certain save point, it would save that timestamp exactly where it's at with your location. So if you're like, wait, I want to replay this level, and you're uploading it, it's going to take 0.6 seconds for it to upload that entire area that you were just in. So
because the area doesn't change. It's just checkpoints. Isn't that how the memory cards used to work in the analog systems?
They used to.
Yeah.
And they changed a lot of stuff, but they're using that thought process with games, because remember, there's a lot of games nowadays that are open world.
Yeah.
They're doing this with So okay, so you're what you just said with your thought process right now, my thought process, a lot of video games thought process. If I step out of my room and I make a left, let's just say there's a trash can right there. That trash can is always going to be there. The game now randomizes that trash can, where it doesn't sit there all the time. It doesn't duplicate itself all the time. You know, when you play, well, I don't know how much gaming you do, but you know, when there's some kind of gaming and you're looking at the audience and there's a group of people doing one thing, and then it's like duplicated, and then you could see like that one person in 10 different areas doing the
Yeah.
exact same movement.
Okay.
They have come up now with this is something that the 5 is doing, the PS5 is doing. They have come up with this new style where it randomizes it to the point that you will no longer see the exact same thing in the same area, unless it's like if there's a trash can that's bolted to the ground, then it's going to be there the whole time, but it's not going to be duplicated where it's the exact
Maybe the trash inside of it is randomized.
maybe
Some random trash in there.
but they're getting to the point where it's the detail is so like I don't even know what the right word for this is.
Intense.
It's very intense. It's they're looking down to the last little detail where you will not see something duplicated. You're not going to feel like you just walked into this exact same area and you're looking at the exact same trash can or piece of paper on the floor or the leaf flying by, like the motion, like they're making it so freedom of choice where it's the freedom of the game to say do whatever the hell is natural. Like life, you step outside, you don't know if you're going to see a feather that comes down or a turd coming down from a seagull.
Cloudy with a chance of turd.
Dude, but that's where technology is going, where if you're talking about 100 terabytes at that price, I honestly got maybe I would give it like 3 years before we start talking about, hey, guess what? Remember the well, let's break it down. How many gigs in a terabyte?
Just over 1,000.
1,000. Let's just round it. 1,000. You know, people were saying like, dude, I have 1,000 gigs in my computer. They're like, holy crap. Now it's like, that ain't nothing.
I have that in my phone now.
Yeah. So if I'm over here, like I have my Exos, I know you were like, dude, your Exos hard drive, that 16 gigs, you're like, that's awesome. 16 terabytes, I'm sorry.
Gigs, come on now.
16,000 gigs.
Right.
I give us like 2 or 3 years. 3 years. Let's just say 3 years to be comfortable. I give us 3 years. We're going to have this conversation. And you're going to say, like, you still have that 16 gig Exos terabyte? Like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Terabyte, no gigs.
That's what I said, terabyte. You're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you? 16 terabytes? I said gigs, huh? 16 terabytes? Like, what's wrong with you? And then I'm going to be like, I'm going to be like, you know what? That's actually my backup.
Yeah.
But hope you guys have enjoyed this. There has been a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Let us know in the comment section below what it is that you guys would like to hear. There's a lot of good stuff on this topics, and yeah, there's gonna be more stuff coming. Hope you guys have been enjoying what we have. Make sure you guys do share it, and yeah, as I always say, you guys take care of each other,
stay humble and be patient,
and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.